It's week 12, folks. Here's some players to pick up off the waiver wire. Let's start off with Jacoby Brissett. He just continues to put up huge numbers. Last week, 452 yards, 2 touchdowns, and nearly 22 fantasy points against the 49ers. He also set an NFL record for completions with 47. I'd start him this week if he's out there on the waiver wire against Jacksonville. I also like Sean Tucker. I mean, how can you not? He went off last week against the Bills, 140 total yards, 3 touchdowns, 34 fantasy points, and he's getting more burn than Rachaad White. So until Bucky Irving comes back from an injury, Sean Tucker is a guy you could pick up and potentially play as a flex starter. Same thing goes for Kenneth Gainwell. Jaylen Warren suffered an ankle injury last week, and Gainwell took over, and he had a huge game. 7 catches, 2 touchdowns, nearly 30 fantasy points. So keep tabs on Jaylen Warren's status. If he can't go, Ken Gainwell is very startable in week 12. And sticking with the running backs, let's go to Emmanuel Wilson. Josh Jacobs suffered a knee contusion last week, so we're unsure if he's going to be able to go this week. If he can't, it'll be Emmanuel Wilson who gets the start and will likely see most of the backfield touches for Green Bay. In that scenario, he'll be a viable flex starter against the Vikings. At the wide receiver position, I love Alec Pierce, and he didn't get picked up in many leagues because the Colts had a bye last week, but look at his numbers. 14 plus points in 3 of his last 4 games. He's also seen double-digit targets in 2 of those games. So Pierce is suddenly on that flex starter radar, especially in PPR leagues. And the same goes for Michael Wilson. What a huge game he had last week, 185 yards, over 33 fantasy points against the 49ers. Marvin Harrison Jr. is dealing with an appendicitis, and if he can't play again this week, Michael Wilson is a good play against a Jaguars shaky pass defense. So pick up Michael Wilson and pick up Christian Watson. He's coming off his best game in a long time, scored 2 touchdowns against the Giants, and the Packers, they're a little bit banged up. Remember, Tucker Kraft is on injured reserve. Romeo Doubs has been dealing with injuries. So Watson could end up being a guy you start this week as a flex against the Vikings, and he's out there in a lot of leagues. And finally, for those who need tight end help, how about Juwan Johnson? He got dropped in some leagues this past week. Why? Because New Orleans was on a bye. But look at his numbers. 10 plus points in each of his last 4 games. He had over 19 points in his last game against Carolina in week 10. And even though the matchup is not great this week against Atlanta, Johnson is too hot to sit. So if you need tight end help, pick up and start Juwan Johnson.